Hello. For those that wonder why I do a transcript, it's because in my everyday talk I tend to stutter. I don't stutter, obviously, when I'm working and doing what I do. I talk about a very important subject and a very serious subject, and that is the art of driving someone crazy, which is something that does happen, and it's very prevalent. I want to talk about how people can be driven to insanity by those who are in control. This is a tactic that is used quite a bit, especially to discredit those that pose a threat. I mean, who is going to take someone who is deemed crazy seriously, right? Also, there's a lot of very outlandish things that those who are in charge do. You see, they know that if a person does talk, they will automatically be discredited. There are things that the powers that be do that are very sick and depraved. I can get into that a bit, too. As most know, gang stalking is a reality. This is a tactic used really to make people lose their minds. You see, if you shake someone's very core, their identity, and the reality they live in, it has a traumatic impact on that person and their mind especially. This is how targeted individuals are often victimized. If online, they will be cyberbullied, or even trolled, or befriended and severely manipulated. So these individuals will have all kinds of people going at them at once. Their goal is to break these people, and often very severely. The perpetrators that do this are those in great power and those that work for them. I've talked before how most people are chosen to be targets elsewhere. This process is usually over a period of time, could be a couple of months or a year, but can be done pretty quickly too. And I'll touch on that. These agents will create multiple social media accounts or stalk accounts for this person. They will all befriend each other, so on the outside it will look like these people are normal, with friends, posting back and forth and so on. These accounts will be up for a while before trying to befriend their target. It's a common social engineering tactic. They also don't befriend the targeted individual all at once. When they become friends with these individuals, they know how to quickly develop rapport. They will often feed these people false facts, fake news, and so on. What they are doing is planting seeds in these people. They're seeding these people, in other words. They will show these people all the articles and facts from other sources which they themselves have created. Those that are in power have money and can do that. A lot of these stories are quite disturbing, making that individual quite scared and really questioning their own reality and sanity. These people will often refer to these stories when in general conversation with these individuals to reinforce these people's fears. You have to understand, though, this can be done all at once by a sole agent. It's often few, though. So it should be apparent how powerful this particular technique is, as the people who are getting this information from who they think is completely different people that are not connected to each other at all. Also, a lot of these links are what is called clickbait. It's no secret that a lot of agents are also skilled hackers. So they not only really mess with someone's mind, but they hack into their computers, and by doing so, they get lots of personal information on these people. And this information, of course, is used against these people. They then take messing with someone's mind and their reality to a whole nother level, as you can imagine. Very quickly, how does this relate to mind control? Well, that's quite simple, because when a person is fractured and their sense of identity is being questioned, they are all that much more vulnerable to mind control, which will take place later on. These techniques are used to, quote, prime or, quote, set up a person for mind control. So in essence, you are severely breaking a person down, only to build them back up from scratch, but in a way of your design. The military does this a lot through basic training, but of course that's a positive example of breaking and tearing down someone to build them up. This reminds me of the case I was involved in. There were other agents priming this one guy for me so that later on I'd meet up with him and use mind control on him. So anyway, they posted this story after befriending him and gaining quick rapport and engaging in just everyday talk. The story was about demonic possession and how you could tell if someone was possessed. One of the agents actually posed as a priest online. So they posted a link of this agent on video doing a very intense exorcism. So they let that simmer with the guy for a few weeks while hinting at the video as they talked about normal things. They then started telling the guy from the various symptoms of demonic possession. As I gave them analysis on this guy, as I was also a friend too, but in the background, I told them what symptoms to specifically feed this guy that were unique to him. As you can imagine, this really traumatized this guy. Actually, he had to be put in a psychiatric facility for a brief period. We actually got into that facility and helped in his so-called treatment. When he got out 3 days later, I physically met up with him, and my part of this operation went into full effect. This is also done in person, of course. Doing it in person, you must be much more covert, though. You work your way into their inner circle. It's a few agents that do this at once. These agents, again, seem to have nothing in common or no connection to each other. Once we get into their inner circle, even getting close to their families, we then, little by little, start instigating stuff and just basically creating all kinds of havoc in these people's lives. When you think about all this stuff, it's pretty damn scary how the powers that be really gets into our lives in a very personal way with the sole purpose of breaking us so that we, in the long run, just become assets to them, pawns. Obviously, it's not always for mind control purposes. Sometimes they are grooming these people to be extremists for their own political and evil agendas. If these people are somehow already a part of these secret societies and have witnessed stuff like child sacrifice and other very sick and depraved things, and by the grace of God got free of these people, then they go straight to work on causing these people to lose their minds. As far as child sacrifice, that is, in fact, a reality. They get a lot of these babies and these children from the dark net that are being trafficked. It's a subject I'll touch on at some point later on. It's very heartbreaking and very intense. One of the quicker ways to do this, if they want to expedite the process, it is to kidnap them and subject them to things like electroshock treatment, LSD, and a lot of the basic principles of the MK Ultra. They are then programmed to forget the whole experience and are taken back home or to wherever, where they're in a very confused and broken state. I think by now you get the drift in how these evil people are getting away with the stuff that they do. This is a very intense subject and a very terrifying one. If you're really studying it and you have listened to what I've read, and what I've said, I'm going to be putting this in transcript. Those in power actually do pull this kind of stuff all the time. This is one reason when the people that do come forward with what sounds like to be very outrageous claims are just quickly dismissed as crazy and totally out of their minds or nut jobs. With the kind of power they have, we are all very vulnerable. There are ways, however, to be somewhat on guard against these evil psychological tactics. One is to really listen to your gut instinct. Another is to be very careful about who you let into your life. These agents are out there and everywhere, only to use us as pawns for the powers that be. All I can say is stay very aware and pay attention. Truly.